What's going on, folks? It has been a little while. We took a little break this season, but it is playoff time, and the Knuckleheads want to bring you what we think is going to happen in a divisional round after a fantastic uh, wild card round. This week is a little bit different. Wild card round, most of the games were within a 2 point spread of each other, according to Vegas. This week, it looks like it's supposed to be some blowouts, so we're probably going to get about three, in my opinion, three blowouts and one upset. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. I am blessed enough to have our good friend Shane McGowan, the mental coach, as well as Baltimore Blaine. Baltimore Blaine and I took an L last week. We got our butts kicked. It happens. I think our team's overachieved just a little bit, but it always sucks at the end of the season when you and the players for your team are on the couch watching. We all know that Shane is a Raider fan, so that ship left long ago. This was a rebuilding year where they traded away some of the best players in the league to get some draft picks for Gruden and his 1990s offense. We'll give Shane a chance to defend himself in just a second, but I want to welcome in my guys, and we're going to talk a little about the coaching tree. Baltimore Blaine, how you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. Good to be back.
Coach Shane, welcome back. Long time.
Yes, sir, boys. And yes, Raiders are on the rebound, but they're going to be back. So I'm not worried about that. They just got to get to Vegas. That's all.
So real quick, before I get into this, because we haven't had a chance to talk to you about it, just in a couple of phrases, sentences, whatever, not too long-winded. What do you think about the trade that the two big trades that Gruden gave this year? Obviously being Mack and Cooper. What do you think? Who do you think won those trades?
Oh, well, I mean, Chicago won without a doubt. I mean, there's no question about that. Giving up Khalil Mack was a huge, huge thing. And I definitely will not defend the fact of giving him up for the picks because, like I said, Mack is that dominant of a player, and they should have been able to keep him around. They didn't, and it bit them. It bit them big time. And as for Amari Cooper, I mean, you know what? Him and Carr, as we said before, had a little bit of time, sometimes not on the same page. But Amari Cooper is a good receiver. So I mean it's a tough loss in that way. But I guess, like I said, when you're getting all these first round draft picks and everything like that, you're picking somebody that's gonna come out of college that's gonna be able to be a deep threat and everything like that. And you freed up a lot of salary cap this year too by these trades. So it'll be interesting in this rebuilding stage.
I got to say, I kind of agree with the Cooper thing. Even though it's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback and say that, hey, look what he's doing with Dallas. You guys are crazy for getting rid of him. But Carr and Cooper had a chance, and Cooper had 12 bad games, one okay game, and two good games, and a game that he got hurt pretty much every year. And that's just really not working. So if they are going to build a team around Carr, even though Cooper did show that he does have that talent, I'm not so much against that trade. The Khalil Mack trade just blows my mind though. I have no answer for that one.
Well, it was either be on his, put it this way, Gruden, like you said, is you're either on my team or else you're gone, and he made examples in that way in some aspects, and like I said, other guys that have also had to be let go and moved on. So it's going to be. They're going to let Gruden do what he's got to do when you're paying that much money for that many years. And it's going to go so far up until Vegas and see exactly where they are and how they stand in playoff positions.
And Blaine, what do you feel about the end of your Ravens season? Are you pretty comfortable that Lamar is going to make a big jump from this year to next?
I am. I said going into this that I'd like to win one playoff game, and we didn't get that far, but we did get into the playoffs, and it's going to be humongous value for the experience these young guys on the team, got to make a playoff run. They've experienced that. They played a playoff game, and it's going to benefit them greatly going forward. Now, Lamar has to work on a few things mechanic-wise, his grip on the ball, changing over to the NFL balls, gripping the NFL balls as opposed to the college balls, and so that he could be more accurate, more consistent, and also his footwork. And also, number one, ball control. I mean, not fumbling. So those two things, those things for Lamar. I'd like to see the Ravens get rid of Marty Mornhinweg as an offensive coordinator. If you want to keep him on the team, fine, reassign him to another duty, but he cannot call plays. He lost this game, or was very instrumental in losing this game for us. And we can't, we've been dealing with this for 2 years now, and he just has to go. He has no feel for the game.
And let's everybody pour one out for a great who has decided to hang it up. Speaking about the Ravens, Ozzy has decided that this is it.
Yaz.
Last draft was his last draft, and Ozzy.
And what a draft!
Yeah, what a draft! And Ozzy is now. I don't know if they're going to give him 2 yellow jackets. I don't know how that would work, but I think that he qualifies to be in the Hall of Fame as both a GM and a player. Since he's already in there for a player, I don't know how that would work, but they should do something to honor what he's done, because I think he's probably the most successful player moved on to front office. Yeah, I think that's pretty easy to say.
Okay, let me ask you something though, real quick, Blaine. Though, on the Baltimore side, what do you see happening with Flacco?
I see Flacco being traded, or they're going to try to trade him at least. Probably going to get somewhere, a later round pick for him, seeing that he's not a starter anymore. Also, that he's been injured. He's also, at the end of his tail end of his career, and the fact that they're, going to release him regardless. I think some team is going to pony up a 5th, 6th round pick for him. And also, I see him. The possibilities I see are DC. With Alex Smith's injury, we don't know how that's going to turn out.
Gross.
The two of the Florida teams being the Jacksonville Jaguars or Miami Dolphins, and also the one that I throw in there is the possibility of the Denver Broncos. Seeing that he and Kubiak's coming back as the coordinator for that team, and he and Kubiak they hit it off so well in Baltimore, and with the struggles of Case Keenum, Case Keenum this year, I think he has another year on the contract, but he did not look very well in Denver.
That's big money though to be sitting Case Keenum though. I mean, you're sitting a $24 million man to have Flacco come in, so that one might be a bit of a stretch. I could see Flacco. Well, he's got close to half of it guaranteed easily.
Yeah, that's a big one, and they took away all Case Keenum's weapons. I mean,
exactly.
Thomas looked like crap, so they got rid of him, and then
the only thing they got is Lindsey, that little running back, man. That's their best thing they've got right now. You know what I mean? They've got a good little running back out there. But you do have you've got a guard tackles that are brand new rookies as well. You got a lot of banged up old linemen. So, I mean, it's a tough job to keep that guy standing upright. And Flacco, I mean, he's not exactly the most mobile guy. I could see him going to Jacksonville, though. I think Jacksonville will try to make a pitch.
Yeah, Jacksonville is a big possibility. And I want to, if I can, Chris, can I segue into what I think we're going to talk about next year by saying that asking the question. Okay, I want to ask a question. Do you think that coaching change in Denver was justified at this point? How do you feel about that, guys?
Go ahead, Coach.
Well, I mean, look at Denver has been in a merry-go-round for a few years right now. And I think they finally have said, enough's enough. We need to make the change. And I honestly think in some ways those players started losing their trust and confidence in that coach. I do. I think they started seeing it as this was not fun anymore to be playing here. This is not what's happening. We're not used to this. And I think he started losing that team. Like I said, it's one of the worst things when that happens. But I do believe that that's what transpired, the downward spiral for them and those last bit of games. So, yeah, I mean, you need to bring in somebody new. And it happens every few years. We all know that. Coaches are coming and going. This year seems to be more coaches than ever because of how some of these teams, and they all want to win. There's money. The money is so much out here where owners are saying, look it, I've got $1 billion team, but I want it to be a $5 billion team. So I need to win. And they need to do this by getting the coaches. And when you're bringing coaches out of retirement and things like that, I mean, it's going to happen. So there's a lot riding on it. And Denver's basically said we need to change. And that's where they start.
I think that I think that he's still. I think he's a quality coach. I think that he is still in maybe coordinator mode. Maybe he's not ready to take that next step up. Because for me, when you watch those games, you see things like 12 men on the field. You see things like people jumping offside. You see illegal procedures. You see a lot of things that just looks like it's not it's not a
It's not
well-run
discipline.
machine.
It's not discipline.
It's not discipline. But you also see them, pull off that upset against San Diego. You see them play Kansas City tough up until the very end. You see them, pull off some wins. They kind of made a run at the end. I think he's a good coach, but Elway is of that mindset that I want to win a Super Bowl, and he's just ready to cut bait. But I think that it would be a shame if he's not in the league for a long time. So I think he's a good coach. I think he's a good defensive coach. He had a lot of injuries to deal with this year, but I don't blame him. Like if you want a winner, I don't think that. I think you could defend that he shouldn't have been fired so quickly, maybe, but I don't think that he's going to go on and win a Super Bowl anytime soon, which is the only thing that Elway is focused on.
Yeah, I'd like to throw another angle on that too, Chris.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is how are people looking at Elway as a general manager?
They're mad.
Without that Super Bowl
Denver.
win with Peyton, he really hasn't shown much success there. And
when you swing and miss and trade up for a first round quarterback, and you swing and miss like you did on Paxton Lynch, it takes your program back a bit. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No. I cut you off originally, so paybacks. But I think I would have stayed with him one year longer. But I'm also thinking that always feeling that maybe that's what precipitated this firing so soon. I mean, if I would have loved to have seen him given a chance by bringing Kubiak in as the offensive coordinator to see if that would make a difference. To have if you're staying with Case Keenum, have him a second year and see if things would improve with that with that cast. Like you said, you got a young guy like Philip Lindsay that made a lot of noise there this year. But you have like aging Emmanuel Sanders. Demaryius Thomas was you traded him away. And like you said, all the injuries that they had. So I would have, I'm on the fence. I can understand why he was let go now, for those reasons. But I'm kind of thinking, well, what would have happened if they had, would he have been more successful next year?
Well, let's stay in Denver, and this will take us into our next segment, which is going to kind of be talking a little bit about what the coaching carousel looks like right now. And the Denver Broncos sticking with the idea, just like Vance Joseph, they want to get a defensive-minded coach in there. And one of my favorite defensive coordinators, he's one of my most hated when he was with the Niners and kind of built that defense there. But, he's just been with the Bears, and Vic Fangio is the man in Denver. So I'm guessing that they're just going to believe in the fact that the offense is progressing. Gary Kubiak, as you mentioned, has come out of retirement. Sometimes people take that year off and just get bored and want to come back. But it's just there's something about that good old boys club where the same GMs keep getting hired and they keep hiring the same coaches that I don't like the Kubiak hiring. I love the Vic Fangio hiring. He's one of those guys that no one has ever said a bad word about, men go to war for him. I mean, look what he did at turning around the Niners a few years ago, and then look what he did to the Bears. Turning that team around. I mean, that is a solid defense. Creates turnovers. They play disciplined. I think he's a great pick for them as long as Kubiak can do something with that offense, they can get him some weapons. So I don't know, Coach Shane, what do you think about the about Fangio and the Broncos coaching decisions?
Well, no, you're absolutely correct. I mean, that's a defensive minded guy that's going to make and look at Von Miller and some of them have been real quiet this year. You don't hear the big hoopla or anything like that, and that's frustrating for these type of players. So I mean, you need this type of guy to come in there, and you need a Denver defense to play havoc on every offensive team that they're going to face. But you're right; they do need somebody in the offensive coordinator position that knows the game as well. Kubiak, honestly, I believe Kubiak would have been the head coach if it wasn't still for some health issues in some ways too. I do think that that's what sort of held him back a little bit was still, coming from his health issues and everything, but they still want him back in that franchise and they've got him. And I think he's going to try to do what he's done before. And that's just do a lot of quick things, make the offensive move faster out there, not slow down too much and things like that. Almost like 2-minute drill in so many ways. But if you don't get the right draft picks or you don't bring in some free agents to help on that offense, you're not going to do any good anyways. So this is where Elway's going to have a big thing. And how much is he going to let the head coach also dictate some of that offensive scheme too? I mean, listen, your defense can be pretty stacked as it is. Offensively, they're hurting, and they need to get that fixed, and they need to get it taken care of real fast. So this is what's going to be interesting come draft time and what free agents are also available too.
Yeah, we were talking pre-chat. I was joking about how Elway, for somebody who didn't want to play in Baltimore when the Colts were there, the Colts actually drafted him originally, and later worked out a deal for him to go to Denver. For somebody who didn't want to play in Baltimore, he sure does like Baltimore coaches. Vic Fangio was a defensive coach, and with the Ravens from 2006 to 2009, and he did a great job there. Along with Kubiak, who was the offensive coordinator with Joe Flacco for a year. But yeah, I like this. I like this hire with Vic Fangio. And you're right, Chris. You have that coaching carousel, but a lot of teams, and I can understand why Elway would be one of those. Would you want a proven winner? Or somebody who's got a resume, an impressive resume, as opposed to going and rolling the dice on some new hire that nobody knows, who doesn't have the experience, especially if Elway is feeling the heat, as we were saying in the previous segment.
Yeah, I don't know about feeling the heat from the ownership. I mean, he can't really do much wrong there, but I think the Broncos have, Case Keenum really didn't have a lot. I mean, he went from Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen and Kyle Rudolph to 3 nobody tight ends that all got hurt. Demaryius Thomas, who was out of it, who they traded, and then the one receiver they did have got hurt, and a banged up offensive line. I will stand behind what I said before when we were talking about the Cousins and Case Keenum deal is, when a guy who's never done it only does it for 1 year, it's a, be careful with that because football is only 16 weeks long. It's not hockey. It's not baseball. It's not basketball. Sometimes you can have an anomaly that lasts 16 weeks, and that doesn't mean that's how it's going to be for the rest of the career. But I say they give them another chance. I think they're invested. I don't really think they have a choice. So we'll see what happens. I like Sutton. I like Lindsey. They got some building blocks there. I know, Coach, you were talking about them having those young guards and tackles, or some of the young guys they have on the offensive line. So they have some building to go. And then I can't wait to see what Fangio does with Chubb and Von Miller next year. I think that's going to be a scary defense. So what I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm going to kind of give some basic roundabout news on what's going on with the some of the other teams. And if you guys want to step in and say anything, please let me know, and I'll pause there. So don't feel bad about cutting me off. But if not, I'm just going to whip through these so we can get to some other topics. the Atlanta Falcons, they took Dan Quinn. They took away his head coaching position. They put him down to defensive coordinator. They got rid of Marcod Manuel and Steve Sarkisian. It looks like Dirk Cutter, the recently fired head coach of the Tampa Bay Bucks, is going to be the OC, and they're still looking for a head coach. Cleveland has decided to stick with Freddie Kitchens, who showed that he has a real rapport with Baker and all those new players. I mean, the Browns, after firing Hugh Jackson, who on this show, all three of us, have talked about how much Hugh Jackson is garbage. Freddie Kitchens looks like he won that job. Even though they brought in some different people, they're going to stick with the guy. I like that pick. I think that's a good way to go. We talked about Denver. Minnesota Vikings, Kevin Stefanski, who was the interim OC after Seattle smashed him up in the Seahawks stadium, and they fired John DeFilippo. Looks like they're going to keep him on as the offensive coordinator there. The Jets looked at Todd Monken, Mike McCarthy, Jim Caldwell, and they went with Adam Gase. Yeah, go. That's a great organization. That they're going a long way. Chuck Pagano and Greg Williams, and yeah, you guys knock yourself out. And then Bruce Arians, who retired because he said he couldn't coach anymore, and it was up to his wife. And then he went to Cleveland one day and told his wife, if I wanted to coach, I want to coach in Cleveland because I love the fans and it's so special, and that's the only team I would coach for. And his wife backed him. Ends up coaching for Tampa Bay.
And I just want to say that when these coaches are just like the players, when they say, "Well, I'm done. I want to retire and spend time with my family," and then they have that bug.
Yeah.
You saw it with what's his name, the Tennessee Titans coordinator who was with the Ravens, whose name escapes me now for some reason. Dean Pease. You saw that last year, where he retires from the Ravens, although some people think that he was forced to retire from the Ravens, and all of a sudden says that he wants to go one more round with the Titans.
John Gruden. I don't blame John Gruden though. If someone offered me $100 million guaranteed to do anything.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to take it. You
name the job, I'll do it.
Exactly. So it also cost Tampa Bay a 6th round or a 7th round pick, right, to get Bruce there to Tampa.
Did it?
Yeah, I believe it's a 6th round pick that they give up to get him as well too.
Well, I don't see it here, but I believe Coach.
Sorry, little inside scoop I keep hearing, so that's why. But
so
nothing.
The Cardinals still have his rights for some reason.
That's right, because I think the way the retirement works and things like that, you still have to make sure you're away for a couple years beforehand, and so I believe it cost him a 6th round pick.
Yeah, Kubiak was blocked by, or other teams were blocked from interviewing Kubiak because the Broncos still had rights to his, to him.
Yeah.
And by the way, Kubiak came back as well because he was feeling the itch. He wanted to come back, not as a head coach, but as a coordinator.
Yeah, I was always really surprised that Bill Cowher never came back because he always flirted with it. He missed it. And he's definitely not built to be in the booth. He's not that kind of guy. He does always look kind of awkward on TV. But he stayed away. He stole a Super Bowl with the refs. So I guess that's why.
But that's the thing, though, is that he left on good. He left the way he wanted to in some ways as well, right?
Yeah.
And now what's he going to go back to? I mean, honestly. Go back to Pittsburgh. Who wants to go to Pittsburgh? It's nothing but a gong show at that place right now.
Well, he hasn't been offered $100 million either to come back onto the field.
Yeah, so that's another big thing.
Let's hold Pittsburgh in our mind real quick, just to cap it off. Cincinnati's still looking. Miami Dolphins are still looking. I know one of their top choices is Chris Richard, the former secondary coach and defensive coordinator for Seattle. He went to Dallas this year, and you saw what he did to that team. He is one of those super high energy, positive, just former player, great coach, and I want nothing but the best for Chris Richard. So if he either stays in Dallas or he goes, I think the Miami Dolphins would be in a great spot if they got Chris Richard. I think that kind of a disciplined cat is exactly what they need. So I'll
But
go to
you forgot
Blaine.
the Cardinals. Did you mention the Cardinals?
Yeah, that was the first one I mentioned.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They're going. I think
I,
I did. I think I did. Maybe it was off track, but they're going with the air raid. The Texas Tech coach, air raid offense. They're going to throw a ton next year, and they're still going to be horrible.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this earlier today, guys, and forgive me, I don't remember which one of you brought this up, that that you couldn't understand why the Cardinals made this coaching change now, and I would agree with that. It doesn't, it was not like you were on the cusp of becoming something or doing something in the next year or two.
Yeah, Steve Wilkes got screwed. That was not his fault.
Yeah,
no question about
that was a
that.
premature change.
Yeah, they did that too fast, considering that you look around the league and say, okay, you've held on to other coaches for 3 years plus and gotten nowhere. You release other guys, you players, and etc. This young guy comes in there and he's like, okay, I mean, this is what I got. I got to do the best I can, and I'm not getting any help. And I mean, like I said, it was just a real bad situation for him, and he got screwed. I'll say that. They should have given him at least another year. Bring some other players in there too to help out everything that's going around him, and then see exactly how he is as that coach.
Jed York is one of the worst owners in the NFL. He's such a stupid little kid that should not be in charge of a team. And you saw what he did when he fired Harbaugh and put in Chip Kelly and put in the other guy. But even that moron figured out that, hey, the most successful organizations in the league get a GM, get a coach, make a long-term plan, and stick with them, and let the football guys do the football stuff. And these bad organizations, they keep tail spinning it, and I don't understand why people just don't figure that out. You got to stick with the guy that you really believe in, and let him run with it. If not, you're going to be the Arizona Cardinals.
especially with the young quarterback. You don't want to keep making these changes that early in his development in the NFL. You don't want to do that, and that's why the whole thing with, and here I go again, back to the Ravens. That's why the whole thing about Harbaugh coming back is a plus, and keeping that coaching staff together.
You guys have had 2 coaches in 20 years.
Yeah, one of the problems with Joe Flacco's development was every other year or more or less, I should say, you change coordinators, you change quarterback. He had so many coordinators come through, and I think that hurt his development. By the way, speaking of, did nobody offered Marty Mornhinweg a head coaching job yet? No news on that.
He's had his chances. He'll be a quarterback's coach.
We're stuck with him. Damn. Okay.
And you know what? Real quick, I know this is we're running a little bit long here, but speaking about guys who are getting screwed, hey, coach, what do you think about McKenzie? This problem is not his fault.
No, it wasn't his fault. I mean, he got caught in the middle of a gong show there, and basically, and look at who they brought in to replace him. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, he's an analytic guy. That's it. Gruden is going to do the drafts. He's going to take care of everything. He just needs his yes guy. That's all it is. And that's all it came down to. Reggie has a lot more credibility to understanding this game, to understanding the players, what's needed, etc. It was a terrible, terrible move in that way, but it became a clash of 2 egos as well. And really, that's I'll as much as I'm the Raider fan, I also got to be realistic and say, okay, this is what's going on down there. Gruden has got full control. Davis has given him that full control, and this is what's happening. So, you know what I mean? Now it's up to you got to ride it because you're paying too much money for it. So you're going to ride this all the way to Vegas in 2020, and from there you're going to see exactly what you've paid for and what is going to come. Now, does it work for him? Well, we're going to find out. But I mean, like I said, that's what it really came down to. So yeah, Reggie, he's going to land on his feet somewhere. There's no question about it. And he deserves that opportunity because he does know what he's doing. He really does. It's just, unfortunately, you're also in the mix of guys who are very large headed and, that's it. So he did get screwed. There's no question about that.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about on the show. They had two different boards where you had Gruden's guys and Reggie's guys at the draft, and they had different boards, and they were arguing who they're going to pick, and
exactly.
That whole
So
thing was a mess.
So how can you be on the same team if you got two separate boards and you got guys all over the place of where you think they should be placed and everything? Plus, you still got guys that are free agents that you still got to sign, like a Khalil Mack and everybody like that. So yeah, it wasn't a good scene.
All right. Well, before we do, we're running a little long here, but it's all good. I haven't talked to my boys in a while, so I'm not worried about it. Just before we get into the 4 playoff games, we'll start with you, Blaine, and then you go ahead and take it, Coach. What's going on in Pittsburgh? I mean, it just seems like it's again and again and something else and something else and something else. I got to step away for a quick second, so why don't you take it, Blaine, and then you take it, Coach. But, I mean, just you have probably two of the most talented players in the league who one didn't play all year this year. One's not going to play. You have a quarterback who can't support his guys and is super passive aggressive on, in the media. He's like, I'm not going to say anything. Everything's fine. But what really happened? And he just, throws those little shots out there. And I mean, it's just a mess. And there's just way too much talent on that team. And I think that maybe their window's closed. So why don't you take that, Blaine? Why don't you take that, Blaine, and then Coach take it just after him?
Yeah, he doesn't belong there. We're talking about Antonio Brown. He doesn't belong there. He doesn't fit into that organization. He doesn't fit into the culture of that, or what used to be the culture of that team. I would like to think that team is still the same franchise that we used to follow. That we used to be the darling of the AFC North. But I've been saying the last couple of years, what's going on? It's the very question you just asked at the top of this topic. What is going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Now, you see this year, and I said this on the show earlier this year. Why are the Pittsburgh Steelers players concerned about Le'Veon Bell not showing up when they have bigger fish to fry on that football field during a game? Opening day, they're talking about Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell hadn't been there for the whole preseason. He wasn't showing up, and even when he shows up, he needs 2 to 3 weeks to get into football shape and to get into his groove. So he wasn't going to help them, but they were all talking about Le'Veon Bell and texting and social media and all of that. That's showing that your team does not have focus. Now you have Antonio Brown, who was also back during that time, arguing about not getting the ball from Ben Roethlisberger, who is aging and who is a shell of, in my opinion, of who he used to be. Yeah, he's still effective, but he was a force to be reckoned with during his prime, during his career. He is not the same Ben Roethlisberger. He offers the ball up too many times for pickoffs. And I told my cousin, who's a Steelers fan, I told him, I said, the one thing about the Ravens being bounced in the playoffs is now I get to sit and see watch the entertaining drama of the Pittsburgh Steelers unfold this offseason and see how far they go. Do they get rid of Tomlin? There are a lot of fans that want Tomlin gone. I like Tomlin. I like his off the field stuff. He's a very caring, giving guy. He even goes to Baltimore to raise money for the charities in Baltimore. He's a class guy. But on the field, I've had my problems with him. Coach, I'm going to let you get in here now because I'm just going on and on.
You're getting very angry over there is what you're doing. So,
I've just been sitting on this, man.
Yeah. But okay, I mean, you got to break down the Steelers in this way and say, okay, first it starts with your star running back who, when a player can say, you know what, I'm willing to take that chance and sit out the entire season, then that he knows something else that's happening there. He's not happy with anything that's happening in that organization. He feels that things aren't going to go the direction he wants it to go. And I guarantee he wants to play. Don't get me wrong. He wants to play. Yes, he wants to get paid, but he also wants to play. So there's a lot more that's going on in that organization that the public don't know either. Then you got your, great talented wide receivers who now also has some competition coming in there with Jujube and the rest of these guys. And I mean, great. That's what you want. You want that type of feel up there. But you do have a quarterback that is not very, very supporting to his teammates. And I'll say that. He is not supporting to his teammates. He made that very clear with throwing them under the bus a couple of times. And those guys defended him by saying, well, you know what? He's our guy, and we get where he's coming from, etc. But in all honesty, they're sitting there saying, you know what? Just throw me the ball, man, and let me go up there and get it. And they didn't do that. So,
Coach, I'm sorry to interrupt you. But my favorite excuse for Ben's behavior is the one that I keep hearing. Oh, he's earned this.
Yeah,
you don't earn that. I mean, you don't do that. No, you don't. You haven't earned that disrespect.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I mean, you're absolutely correct in that. And this is the thing. And then you got a head coach who is in some ways on the fence with everybody and everything. He can't figure out what to do. He's trying to be the peacemaker in some ways. He's trying to be the head honcho and keep everything in control. And this is his team and stuff. But he's playing both sides of the fence. He never took control like he should have or anything like that too. So you've got a whole organization that is all over the place. You've got an offensive line that could do their job right, except you got a quarterback that holds on to the ball too long. And he thinks he can make the big things happen. He can't run.
He can't do what he used to.
No, he can't even come close to doing what he used to. And like I said, Pittsburgh won some interesting games. There's no question about that without some of their stars. But when it came down to it, they don't have inside that team cohesion where they could play together as a unit. They picked on each other too much, and that's what it came down to. And like I said, they showed it. They showed exactly what happens when a team self-destructs, and that's what it looks like.
I know we always go back to the teams that we're homers for examples, because the team we watch. But it kind of reminds me of what happened in Seattle this last year, where there's certain coaches, a Tomlin, a Pete Carroll, where you can let these big personalities be themselves, let them go crazy when you're winning. And Pete Carroll let the Shermans and the Michael Bennett's and all these guys, be themselves and be loudmouth, but they all came together and played and went to Super Bowls. But then last year it started to become obvious. You guys called it out, during the season last year, where you have them screaming at each other on the sidelines and things go bad. Now here's the difference, and here's where obviously I'm going to up my guy. This is where I think Pete Carroll deserves credit, and this is what Tomlin is not going to do. Pete Carroll fired his entire coaching staff, got rid of 10 Pro Bowlers, either through free agency, trade, or 2 unfortunate retirements. Changed the entire thing around. Everyone said they're done, they're rebuilding, and then took that team back to the playoffs. But he fired his defensive coordinator, offensive line coach, offensive coordinator, receivers coach. I mean, he went down the line and fired everybody and said, okay, you know what? I let them be themselves to a point. That what they are as themselves got too big. There's too much. There's too many fighting, and we're not winning anymore. Boom. Cut the whole thing, Belichick style, straight at the neck. I don't think Tomlin has the guts to do that. I think that he's going to lose players from attrition. He's going to lose players because they just don't show up. Like, do you understand? Like, that's where that's where I think Tomlin, I don't care how you want to defend Tomlin. You have your star running back just didn't show up, took like a $10 million, $8 million hit, just did not show up. And then on the last game of the season, where you guys are still in the playoffs, your top receiver doesn't go to practice for the end of the week.
Yeah. Again,
doesn't participate in the game planning. And you guys, as a business, the problem with Antonio Brown is the Steelers get a $20 million cap hit no matter what.
Exactly.
If he plays, it's 22. If he doesn't play or they trade him, it's 20 that they got to eat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Steelers are done. I think the Steelers are going to rebuild. I think they're done.
As I said before, I like Tomlin as a guy and his off the field things that he does, but I can't defend him on the field. I think well, you know the old adage, the buck stops here.
Yeah.
Well, that's where it stops. I mean, what you're seeing with the Steelers is the wrappings have come off. You have, I support what Le'Veon Bell did. I don't support how he did it. To say that you're going to show up and then not show up, but it shows exactly what kind of person that is. Antonio Brown is showing the kind of person he is, and all of this was wrapped all clean and tight and kept away from the fans and the public. You know, everything's fine in Pittsburgh. You know, we're all a brotherhood. Yeah, well, you know, you've got some problems in Pittsburgh when your players aren't focused on the first game of the season and you end up tying with the Browns and because you're looking for Antonio Brown to come in and you're worried about what Antonio Brown is. I'm sorry, what Le'Veon Bell is doing now. Le'Veon Bell to say that to tweet pictures of himself enjoying each other in his comments and it was classless. It was classless. Just conduct your business, behind the scenes and do your business the way the business should be done. So that you're respected. Now he made it so that he can't go back to Pittsburgh. I think Antonio Brown can't go back to Pittsburgh. And Antonio Brown, same thing. He has a fight with Ben Roethlisberger or a spat with Ben Roethlisberger at practice, throws the ball at him, and and all of that sort of thing, and then decides he's going to walk out on the team halfway through the final game of the season when they might have needed him. He gets himself benched. They tried to get him to stop straddling the goalposts, during celebrations and tumbling into the end zone, and he wouldn't do that. Now he's calling Ryan Clark an Uncle Tom and all of this, and airing all of this in public. You're showing your drawers in public. Stop it. Just stop it. You don't need those kind of people. And I'm telling you, I agree with you, Chris. I don't think Tomlin's got the balls to do it. I don't think he's going to cut bait with these guys. And just man up and say we can't win with these guys. We can't win with these guys. We're going forward with. I mean, Pittsburgh Steelers have had more success drafting wide receivers than I think anybody in this league. They're second to nobody. They can find a wide receiver under a rock in a cave in under the deep blue ocean and make them a success. They don't need Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown doesn't need to be there. I think he's going to kill that locker room even more if they bring him back.
Well, okay, they're not going to bring him back. There's no question about that. That's done. What's going to happen is that they're going to get rid of him. They're going to field every call that's going to come. They're going to get the picks that they need and possibly somebody else. They're going to renegotiate now also with Rosenberg's contract. That I guarantee you they have to do. They're going to figure out a way to trim it and make it look good on the books, and still he's going to get paid, etc. if he agrees to it naturally. But those are the things they're going to have to do too. They're going to get whatever they got to do for Bell, etc. So like I said, that's the end of the era in Pittsburgh. And then the next thing is going to be is what's going to happen when the season starts and you bring in a couple of new guys and everything like that, and they still have this semi-dysfunctional team. You're going to see the coach gone then, because I don't think he's got much more room left there if this still keeps going on, because it was a bit too much of a media circus this year where they showed their true colors on things in the locker room, outside on the field, etc., that they're saying, okay, coach, you really don't have control of your team anymore. So my thing is, I'm going to say this. I see the coach gone next season. I really do.
So yeah, I think those are all great points. And once again, just to kind of pat Pete Carroll on the back this year, you got to hand it to him.
Oh, come on, Pete.
So answer me this. I know you're joking around, because I'm being a homer, but answer me this: the balls it takes to take a team with a winning record and cut the entire staff and get rid of a bunch of Pro Bowlers because you believe so much in what you're doing that you believe that you can stand it over. Coach Shane, is Tomlin in that in that ballpark because I don't think he is. I don't think he has that.
No, he's not in that ballpark. I mean, look at yes, Carroll did what he had to do, and he did it also to save his own job too. Because if you kept these guys around and everything like that, he'd be the one that would be kind of looking over his shoulder as well and saying, "Holy smokes! I mean, I could be gone from this." So he did. He did a gutsy, ballsy situation and made it happen, and it worked in his favor. And it worked in his favor. You know what I mean? But that also, again, it shows a lot of character of him and the players that he has, like a Russell Wilson, everyone like that, to say, okay, guys, our coach did this for us. Let's get out there and do what we got to do too. Pittsburgh does not have that. Pittsburgh has this. This is my locker. That's yours over there. You go over there. That's their attitude in that locker room, and that's all it's going to be. So it needs an overhaul. It doesn't just need a little Band-Aid on it. It needs an overhaul, and that's what you're going to see happening soon in Pittsburgh. And to all the Steeler fans that listen to the shows and stuff like that, I hate to say it, but they need that to be successful later on down the road. They really do, and this is their time right now.
And I want to say one more thing on this, and
one more thing. Oh my God!
One more thing in honor of Mr. Mark Hirsch. No, one more thing here is that and that I want to point out is does Tomlin have the permission to do that? How far does this Scar go up the ladder into? Does it go into the front office? Would he be allowed to get rid of an Antonio Brown? I think that's a GM decision, and a head ownership decision as well with that much money on the books. So I agree. Tomlin's he's to blame for a lot of this, but I'm wondering if if his hands are tied, if he wants to get rid of Brown or some of these other players, can he?
They're going to pull him in. Look, they're going to pull him in just like they do every other coach and say, okay, what's going on here? And what can we do? And what's got to get done for this team to look good out there in the field and win us games? So if that means we got to bite this one and can we bite it and what's going to happen? Great. But is he really that, I hate to say the word, but it's like a cancer in that locker room at times. That's what they're going to look at. If they're willing to say, okay, hey, Bell, you don't want to play for us? No problem, then we're going to do this, this, and this. If they're willing to do that and take it to that extra mile and not cave in, then I guarantee you they got no problem doing the same thing with Brown as well.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's definitely something to that. As a GM and a coach,
stay tuned.
Your job is to get the best people on the field and get them to play up, to the highest potential. They couldn't even get their players on the field. I mean, that says something. I mean, that's unprecedented. Even some of the worst coaches and GMs have been able to at least get the guys out there to play. I mean, this is like unprecedented failure from a management position. If your job is to motivate a certain group of men and to get them out there, and you can't even get some of the people to suit up for millions of dollars. I mean, there's just something dysfunctional about that. So let's get on to these games. So this doesn't take 3 hours here. Since we're always the idea of the show is to review 4 games, and we haven't even gotten the first one yet. So we'll go with myself, and then we'll go to you, Coach Shane, and then Blaine. We'll give our picks, and we'll kind of break it down a little bit. But we're going to start with Indianapolis and Kansas City. They are playing in Arrowhead, one of the loudest, most difficult places to play. But Andrew Luck and those guys look on their game, man. So, I mean, this is going to be a good one. Pat Mahomes, one of the most exciting young players, in a long, long time, playing in Arrowhead. The over-under on this game is $56. It opened at Kansas City by 4.5. Kansas City is now moved up to 5.5, and the total is up to 57. So this looks like it's going to be a shootout. And last week, all the games were only 2 points apart. This week, there's some big margins according to Las Vegas. So it'll be interesting to see. But apparently, Vegas thinks that Kansas City is going to throw all over them. It's going to be high scoring, but they're going to pull it out. So I'm going to go to you first, Coach, and break down what do you think about Kansas City Indy this week.
Well, this is going to be, again, it's an exciting game. Watching Indianapolis play last weekend, I was just like, wow, at how Luck was out there. He was doing what he had to do. He showed the forms of No rust, no hesitation, no nothing. His guys were on sync with him. His O-line kept him in there. His running back kept moving out there too. It didn't matter what they did on offense. Houston couldn't figure out anything to fix this. You know, they couldn't find a way to stop them. And I'm looking at the same thing going against Kansas City because I don't think Kansas City's defense is as good as people have made them to be at certain times. You can pick these guys apart. Offensively, yeah, Kansas City has an offense, but can Indianapolis rattle Mahomes enough, like other teams have done, to get him to frustrate and everything? And this is his first big playoff. This is his big shining moment in some ways, too. Season's done. You're in the playoffs. It's a whole new ball game again. And I just got a feeling that Luck's got luck on him right now. And I'm going to go with Indianapolis in this one. I'm going to take the upset on this one just because I think the way the Colts have been playing, the way they've handled themselves throughout the season and everything like that, I just think they've got it in their favor right now, going in there and saying, you know what, we've been out from the get-go. Nobody had us even close to doing anything. They've proven everybody wrong right now, and that's why I'm going to take Indianapolis on this one.
Yeah, I like Indianapolis on this one too. That Kansas City defense, as I've said all season, they got good pass rushers now, which may or may not work well against the Colts because the Colts don't allow Andrew Luck to get hit. That offensive line has been playing amazing, and so and I think the Colts defense will do just enough to keep this game close. They've been inconsistent, but the offense has been able to score enough to get them, these wins and get them, into the playoffs. The thing about that offense, though, is that Andrew Luck has a banged up T.Y. Hilton, who didn't practice again today. And he's got an ankle injury. Then you have Ebron has a hip injury, but he's back at practice. He was back at practice yesterday, being Wednesday. Also, Ryan Grant has been ruled out of the game. So some of his weapons won't be there. But I'm just amazed at Andrew Luck. And I think if anybody's going to beat Kansas, not to mention Kansas City hasn't won a playoff game in Kansas City in forever. So no, I don't want to rule out Patrick Mahomes. I don't want to say anything as far as disrespectful to him, but I think that Indianapolis's defense might do enough just to rush him, just to hit him just enough to make him hurry his throws. And I just feel the Colts are going to pull this one out.
All right. Well, I'll be really quick about this. Patrick Mahomes has had a great season. He's going to have a great career. Andy Reid in the playoffs always makes me nervous. So I always kind of go against Andy Reid, and it usually works out for me. You saw Kansas City in their big games, their big primetime games against winning teams, Seattle, the Chargers, New England, and then there's another one I'm missing. They're just not ready for prime time, and their secondary is horrible. They have 3 slot corners playing all 3 positions, former safety playing one of the corner positions. You have a bit of a pass rush, like you said, but you're going against a team that has the best pass blocking offensive line in the league. And if those guys don't get home, Andrew Luck is going to pick them apart. Absolutely pick them apart.
Agreed.
So we'll leave it there. I won't go too much into all the numbers and the stats and stuff. I'm pounding Indy. I'm pounding the over and Indy because I think that this game is going to be a shootout. And just real quick, one last thing. Great follow is there's a guy, Dr. Chow, who was the San Diego Chargers physician, trainer, medical, is the head of the medical staff on the San Diego Chargers for a long time. He has a great Twitter feed and questions, and he looks at all the injuries that are going on and tells you like what he thinks. And he says Ty is fine. It's a foot kind of thing that you don't want to put too much pressure on. He hasn't practiced on Wednesday and Thursday for the last 4 weeks in a row. During those weeks, he has like a 190-yard game. He has a 2-touchdown, whatever game. I mean, he's been doing fine. And Dr. Chow said that he's running fine. He's doing fine. He's performing. Foot injuries, they tend to hurt after a practice, so it's good to let them sit up. But he also says that those type of injuries hurt more when you walk than when you run, which kind of sounded weird to me. But anyways, he says that Ty is fine. They're going to rest him. They're going to keep resting for the rest of the year, but he's going to be fine. Now, Melvin Gordon, to the next game that we're going to go to with the Chargers, Melvin Gordon is going to be playing with 2 knee braces. He has calf problems, knee problems, back problems, everything problems. And that I was told, or by Dr. Chow, he has got some issues that are serious and they're affecting his ability to play. So, Blaine, why don't you break down San Diego for us real quick?
You mean LA?
Oh shit!
I have to say that. I have
to
say that because if I don't call people out on it, if I don't call people out on it, Chris, I'll continue to make that mistake myself.
Old school Chris. Old school Chris.
No, and it's what, there's something psychological about it because other teams when they change, there's not as big of a problem, but people all over the world, all over the industry, even people on TV up to this point, still say San Diego.
Yeah, it's because they've been in San Diego for so long, and people instead of just saying Chargers would always say San Diego instead, as a replacement for the nickname. But but yes, the Chargers. Going into New England after defeating the Ravens this past Sunday to move on, I to the divisional round, and I think that I'm picking New England to bounce back. I know they haven't been looking like the old New England Patriots or the New England Patriots we've been used to, with Gronk looking slow and old and Brady not being as effective as he usually looks. And even Edelman, in my opinion, hasn't looked like the old Edelman. But I see that the one thing I want to point out is Phillip Rivers hasn't thrown a touchdown for the second time now against the Ravens defense. Now the Patriots, Belichick has been sitting there with another bye. Yes, another bye, folks, preparing for both of these teams. And believe me, as much as the Chargers exposed the Ravens exposed the Chargers. So I doubt if the Chargers are going to use 7 defensive backs to try and take down Tom Brady. But believe me, Brady will be ready for him. So will Belichick. They'll have a game plan. Weather might factor into this. You still have a West Coast team playing in an East Coast city. Hostile environment. Foxborough is no joke. The Patriots play very well there. There are only a few teams that have been able to beat them in Foxborough. And I think the Chargers season comes to an end this Sunday when Phillip Rivers comes up short in what I call the Whiners Bowl. Because remember, I used to always give Tom Brady a hard time about whining after every play to the officials. Well, Phillip Rivers is like a young Tom. Tom Brady doesn't do that as much anymore. You see Phillip Rivers doing it all the time. He's like a young Tom Brady on steroids as far as whining to the officials every play, trying to get a flag or crying about something. At
least Phillip Rivers never cusses. I don't know if you guys knew that, but Phillip Rivers.
I don't know. I never heard him. I never hear what he says. He yells. I'll take your word on that.
But it's funny because if you make fun of him because he never cusses, he always says like, "Gosh darn it."
Well, he can't. He's not allowed to. He's got a whole tribe of kids there that can't hear Daddy cuss.
God bless him. Shane, what do you see going on with the Chargers and New England playing up in Foxborough?
Well, listening to this, all I hear is Baltimore Blaine still complaining and upset that his team lost to the Chargers. So I'm going to say this. Chargers are going in, and I got a feeling the Chargers are going to beat the the Patriots this weekend, on Sunday. I think that this is the best defense that San Diego has had in a long time. I think their special teams definitely shined and will do the same thing against what I don't think Patriots have a very good cover team. And I think the San Diego's going to take great advantage of that and get good field position all the time. I do think Phillip Rivers is playing a very solid season games lately. He's had better ball control and things like that too. And I do think that this is the year that they're going to come in there and actually take out the Patriots in this one. I don't think Brady and the rest of them are even close or resembling a team that can go further after this. I really don't. I think they've sunk. They're injured. They're banged up. They're not themselves out there. And I just don't think their defense is as strong either. And I think this is the time to do it. And I think San Diego is that team that can take them.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach, I just want to point out. That Phillip Rivers threw 6 interceptions in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, it happens.
Well, yeah. But two of those 3 weeks were against the Baltimore defense. And so what I want to say real quick is I know that it looks like Baltimore exposed some problems in San Diego's offense, but the Patriots don't have the personnel to do
LA's.
LA's, you say, whatever. Patriots don't have the defensive personnel to do what the Baltimore Ravens did because they can't play that. They don't have the people to play that.
Exactly.
They don't have the athletes to play that.
I agree.
And they also don't have, and I'll say this, Baltimore got eaten up on special teams out there. And I don't think the Patriots have any cover team to cover these guys on punts or anything like that too. So special teams is going to be a factor in this game as well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a Belichick team. It'll come ready to play. But I actually think this is going to be the year that they just don't have enough. And I think the Chargers are a really dangerous team. The way you beat Brady is pressure, inside pressure coming straight in his face, pushing tackles back or pushing guards and centers back into his lap. And they got a guy named Joey Bosa who's going to do exactly that.
And that's what the Eagles did last year to them. And it showed. It showed exactly what happens when Brady gets pressured.
And I want to point out 2 things about that defense. Okay, one thing about the Patriots defense is that for some reason they step it up in the playoffs every season. They step it up at this time of the year. Second, that defense is the same defense that beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Okay,
in Arrowhead.
When nobody else was in Arrowhead. So don't sell that defense short. About what they can do and what they can't do especially when you've got Belichick scheming the game. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, we'll see. We'll stay with you, Blaine. And why don't you talk about the Saints doing a replay? They're playing the Eagles again in the Dome. Last time the Saints just absolutely bludgeoned the Eagles. I think, what was it, like 43-6 or something crazy like that? Just absolutely destroyed them. They're going into a playoff game. This is a huge line for a playoff game. They're going into a playoff game as an 8-point favorite with a 51 over-under. And once you get past that 7-point line, things change. And then they're 8-point favorites. Is this going to look just like the regular season game did with the Eagles and the Saints? I mean, is Drew Brees going to just walk out there and throw, like for 90% passer or 90% completion rating and just completely smash these guys? Or do you think if the Eagles can learn something?
I don't see that. I don't see that game being lopsided. I think it's going to be a closer game. But I do think the Saints are going to come out on top. They've had their bye. They've rested. I know that they were playing a little bit. They weren't playing as well towards the end of the season, but I think now that they've gotten an additional bye, they have they're back home, where they're just they're a monster at home. I think that the Eagles, although they're playing better now, and made their playoff run, I think it comes to an end this Sunday. I think the Drew Brees and the Saints are just going to be too much to handle in that environment.
Well, look, I think the Saints have the team to go all the way. There's no question about that. I think Breeze has demonstrated all season how good he is and why he has not been mentioned nearly enough throughout the year of being in that more than elite status, like the Bradys and everybody else like that. So he's got a lot to prove. He feels good about the team they have. Payton is calling some amazing offensive, defensive schemes. Everybody is on that same page and in that same playbook. So I think the Saints have this one, and I think they're going to take it by a touchdown. Foles has done everything he possibly can do, coming off the bench like he has, being the star in each week like he's done. The defensive front has played very strong. There's no question about that. They've been all over the place. But I just think that Breeze and that run game and everything is going to be able to pick the Eagles apart. And I do think the Eagles are a little banged up on some positions too. So it's going to be a little bit interesting. But going into New Orleans is already going to be tough. You're not playing at home like you did in Philly. You're not outside or nothing like that. So it's going to be a tough one. It really is. And I think this plays into the Saints' hands. They want this, and I think they know that they can take it, and this is that game. They're still cringing after losing last year in Minneapolis on one last play that got them out of there.
What happened on that play? Oh, yeah, I remember that play.
Okay. They're still cringing when they had that game, and it went for that touchdown like that. So like I said, this is not going to happen again, and they know that. They know how to play this, and that's why I said I don't think it's going to be a blowout in that way. I just think they're going to win by a touchdown, but I do have the Saints taking this one.
Mute button. Okay. Chris is trying
Thank
to
you about
figure
that. Sorry, I had to.
There he is.
Sorry, I was giving.
We're out of practice. Don't worry about it. I almost forgot myself a couple of times.
So I think just the Saints in the dome is just too much. That team has already showed they know how to beat them. People just absolutely underestimate even the Seahawks this year. I know I'm saying this because it's my home team, but if Seattle would have been able to play all their playoff games in Seattle, they could go to the Super Bowl. On the road, not a chance. People really underestimate how important it is to get those buys, and I think the fact that New Orleans has set it so they get to play in that dome, oucha, Eagles are going to get smashed. I don't think it's going to be quite as bad as last time. I hope not, just from my, just as a viewer, I hope it's not going to be that bad, but it definitely could be. Next game, the last game tonight, is the Los Angeles Rams. See, you never mess up and accidentally call them St. Louis, right? It's only the Chargers. But anyways, so you have the Rams going against the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to go first here. I think that the Rams have shown that their defense is suspect. Not quite as suspect as Kansas City. I mean, people forget Kansas City and the Rams. I went against each other and scored like 100-something points. I mean, those defenses are garbage. I definitely do not think the Rams make it to the Super Bowl. I can tell you that. However, I think that any of the teams in the playoffs are not going to beat them. I actually am going to go, and not just because they beat my Seahawks, just because I think that the Rams have looked like a different team the last 4 or 5 weeks. I don't think they have any hope to stop Zeke, which means they can shorten the game and get that time of possession going. This is my one. I think the favorites win. I think it's Indy and Dallas has the upsets, and the other two are pretty easy. But I actually think Dallas is going to win this game.
Oh, man.
Go ahead, Coach. Tell me why I'm crazy.
You know why you're crazy is, first off, Dallas shouldn't even be in there. It should have been Seattle. But Seattle's offense was so terrible and so vanilla, that's why you guys aren't in there. That's what it came down to. It came down to that offense by Seattle.
That pass interference penalties on the BS at the end, and C-Duck got hurt.
And the bottom line is, Jason Garrett, the head coach of the Cowboys, has never won a playoff game. He got lucky with the first one, and that's as far as it goes. I'm telling you that right now. There is no way in the world the Rams are going to let Dallas come in there and scoop them and take it. I guarantee you that defense is going to play even tougher. You got Todd Gurley, who's ready to play out there too, who's going to run a storm on Dallas. That's going to happen for sure. God, look, Jared Goff, he's got his game on now. This team is going to come in and play. And I just saying is that, in all honesty, I would have rather have seen Seattle against the Rams than see these Cowboys.
Seattle would
Because,
have beat
like I
the
said,
Rams. It was the third time they played them.
You threw your bone there, Chris.
But like I said, if you wouldn't have ran such a vanilla offense, you would have beaten them. But you guys couldn't even do that, and that's what happens. Rams are not that type of offense. That's the difference. Rams are going to have things, and McVay has got the plan set up. So, like I said, Dallas got their win. Jason Garrett, he got his first playoff win, but that's it. That's as far as Dallas goes. I got Rams by 10 on this one. I'm taking Rams by 10 on this one.
Vegas has Rams by 7. Go ahead, Blaine.
I'm going with the Rams, and I just was going to ask you: is Todd Gurley playing this game?
Yes, he
Enough
is.
said. Enough said. That's going to cancel out whatever Zeke does, and maybe even more. You got a rested Rams team coming off a bye. They have time. They rest. They've had time to plan for whoever they were going to meet. You got a Dallas team coming on the road to LA. And I think the Rams are going to destroy. And I'm not going to say destroy. It might be like I'll go 10 points along with the coach here, but I don't see the Rams losing to Dallas. I think Dallas is going to be out coached. They're going to be outplayed. That Rams defense is not as bad as people want to say. They're inconsistent. And they've got a lot of talent on that team and experience. And I think they're going to step it up in the playoffs here. They're going to show Dallas that they don't belong there.
All right, we will see. We will see. There's just a few things, and just something for everyone to keep an eye on. There will be more Cowboy fans in that stadium, which holds 100,000 people, than there will be Rams fans.
Maybe
you'll listen to it on television, and when the Cowboys do something good, you're going to hear a cheer, just like they're in Jerry World. I'm not sure how much of a difference that's going to make, but just a little fact, because Cowboys travel well, and the Rams can't fill their stadium with their own fans. The Chargers,
nobody can fill that stadium.
The Chargers play an away game every time they play at home. There's always more fans from the other team in that little, in the StubHub. So there it is. We'll do something.
Let's remember the Raiders couldn't fill that stadium, Chris.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
No, it's true.
In 1983, they did. Super Bowl years, I'm sure they did.
Yeah. But look, it doesn't matter. In all honesty, when you get down to the playoffs now, you've played the whole season, and whether you had fans or you didn't have fans or whatever it is, it's now coming into saying it's a new game, it's a new series. We are the ones that are going to take control of this. And that's all I'm saying about this game. I just don't think that Dallas has it in them. I think Dallas is going to be off. I think that they're a few seasons short from actually making more of a run at certain things right now, and I think that's where the Rams are going to play their hardest and definitely try to prove a huge point that this is their stadium, their time, and that's it.
So, Coach, staying with you really quick. Recap your picks for Saturday and Sunday, and then give me your Super Bowl pick. What two teams go to the Super Bowl?
Well, like I said, first off, we're going to be taking Indianapolis over Kansas City. Dallas, I got the Rams over Dallas. I got the Chargers over New England. And I've got New Orleans beating Philly. My Super Bowl picks, though, is I'm actually going to be taking the Saints to go against Indianapolis.
Damn. My pick is actually the exact same thing.
You two are smart guys.
The only difference I have is I think it's going to be Dallas getting beat in the Dome as opposed to the Rams, but I don't really think it matters who goes to the Dome. I think this is a pretty strong. They stopped the run. The pass defense has slowly gotten better as the years gone through. Breeze is absolute animal. They have 2 All-Pro running backs. I mean, that team is just. This
And
is they're
they're,
healthy. They
they're
stayed
healthy.
healthy. Yeah,
Exactly.
they stayed healthy. They got the bye. They're at home. I mean,
But they're being coached smart too. They're not taking dumb penalties out there. They've got good ball control as well.
he's thrown over 70% completion rating. He set the record last year, and he almost broke it this year. I mean,
Well,
Drew
yeah,
Brees is just on a different planet right now. He's just on a different level as far as efficiency is concerned. So, Baltimore, Blaine, give us your picks for
Okay,
this for Saturday and Sunday, and then tell us who's going to the Super Bowl.
I take Indy over KC. I take Rams over the Cowboys. I take Patriots over the Chargers and Saints over the Eagles. And my Super Bowl pick is going. I'm going along with you guys. It's going to be Indy and New Orleans. And I think if Indy does get past the Chiefs this week, they're not going to have a problem getting past anybody next week. And I think they will. I'm leaning on them to win it all. I'm not quite there yet, but
we're going to say that for next show.
I'll say this.
I'm not quite there, but I'm leaning.
But I'm going to say this though: if Indy does make it to the Super Bowl, that is going to be the most publicized Super Bowl due to the fact of Andrew Luck being as long gone from the game that he was, and the surgeries and everything like that. That is going to be headline scoop for that entire couple of weeks of Super Bowl.
Comeback story of the year.
And on the other side, you got Drew Brees, who is at the tail end of his career, trying to go out with the Super Bowl ring.
And that's what I mean. So that Super Bowl is going to be probably one of the most hyped because of everything between these two quarterbacks.
And if I put my foil cap on, like I usually wear, that's exactly what the NFL wants to see. That's the ideal matchup for the NFL.
I think so.
So now the refs are going to be paid. The refs are going to be paid off.
Now they're already paid off.
It would be really hard. It would be really hard to fix a football game. Like basketball is one thing, but or baseball is the other with the strikes and stuff. But it would be really hard to fix a football game.
Hey, I'm going to say this before we end this.
Not really.
How we end this show is I'm going to say this to you though, Chris, is that rumor has it Russell Wilson's going to spring training camp with the Yankees.
Uh-oh.
He does it every year.
Yes, but it's something enticing him.
He used to. Well, he's drafted. I think.
The
Rangers own his rights.
The Rangers.
Right. So he goes down there for spring training all the time. But
no, he's a middle infielder, right?
Yeah, he's a shortstop. That's how you can see how he throws that sidearm and stuff.
Well,
hey, and just real quick, I will end with this, and not that just because it's the Seahawks thing, but talking about like Ben. Think about Russell Wilson. You never have to worry about him ever saying anything close to what Ben does. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even watch Russell's interviews because they're so boring. Because I can already tell you what he's going to say. He's going to throw a bunch of compliments to his competitors. He's going to say how much he works hard with his guys, how much he loves his guys, how positive it is. Go 1-0, no problem. Hey, you know what? We just see it as a challenge. That's a leader. Ben and all that stuff, like, you never have to worry about that with, even your guy, Coach,
Carr, yeah.
There, you can tell there's problems whenever they ask. He says, "Oh, me and Coach are great."
Yeah,
don't worry about it.
Hey,
I'm gonna tell you.
Look at all the NFL teams. You got more than 3/4 of them that are backing each other, but then you get the one that says no. It doesn't work like that.
I was very disappointed with Ben's attitude towards Mason Rudolph when he came into camp. Where he was acting like, he didn't want the guy. I mean, he didn't make him feel welcome. And yeah, they downplayed it, just like they downplayed all the other problems they had. But suddenly Ben, who is going to retire a year ago or talking about very seriously thinking about retiring, now all of a sudden he wants to be Brady and play for like X amount of years going forward because they drafted a quarterback. I think Ben is selfish. And the sooner they get rid of him, the better they're going to be.
Well, he can be selfish from the couch. All right, guys, let's wrap this up. This is something we're going to do. We're going to do this throughout the playoffs, and we're going to get you a couple of Super Bowl shows as well. For Baltimore Blaine and Coach Shane McGowan, this is Chris Rose signing off. Talk to you soon.
Bye.